Hello, everyone. I will give it a couple minutes just to let some people flood in because I know probably most of you have been waiting for the last few minutes to be properly on time, but you're all very, very welcome to our latest iteration of Careers Club, this time with leading remote employer and valued employer partner of ours, Otonomee. I want to start by saying thank you to you all, honestly, for taking the time out of your day to join us, and a pre-thank you to anyone else who watches this back on demand. As you all know, we had an unprecedented amount of interest in today's session, which we love to see, but it just goes to show how valuable fully remote roles at a brilliant employer are to our community. So thank you to you all. A few housekeeping bits before we get started. As always, we invite you guys to keep this session extremely interactive. So pop your thoughts, your feedback into the chat box. We usually start with everyone letting us know where they're joining from. I myself am in a very depressing West Waterford, but we won't let that dampen our time. For any questions that came in during your registration forms, we've collated them all and we'll do our best to get to them. There were like an insane amount. So if we don't get to any on today's call, we will make sure to include them in our follow-up email. And then as this is now a webinar, as I said, due to the interest of you all, any additional questions that you have during the session, just pop them directly into that Q&A function so we can keep track of them as well. So without further ado, I'd like to pass it over to Otonomee's Chief People Officer, Brendan Ring, to walk you through an in-depth spotlight on Otonomee. Brendan.
Erica, thanks so much. Just suppose firstly, a big thanks to Erica, Joanne, and Caitlin for I suppose organizing this first of all. Okay, so like the reach is amazing. I'm reading some of the different counties there and the different towns that are coming in. It's amazing to see people coming from all over Ireland. So just from you guys, first of all, a major thanks for organizing it and inviting Otonomee to present at it. And just Grow Remote in general for helping to, I suppose, to continue to drive the good word of remote work around Ireland. Okay, so it's lovely to be here. It's always lovely to come in here and talk about roles, okay? Because unfortunately, other companies, in different companies have been letting people go, and so it's amazing to be able to come on here and talk about the great things that we're doing at Otonomee and some of the roles that we have open, okay, and as well to talk about our culture. And I suppose we're a relatively new company, so to be able to come in and talk to people about Otonomee is amazing. So thank you for inviting me. And lastly, thank you for everybody for coming to the session. I know it's a Wednesday at 12 o'clock, so just really appreciate people taking the time out to listen to some of the Otonomee story and about our company. All right. So Joanne, you can present the slides if you don't mind. Perfect. So you can move to the next slide. So is it Erica presenting? Perfect. So as I said a while ago, we're going to speak about the Otonomee story. I'm going to demystify a little bit around the outsourcing world and why companies decide to work with Otonomee. I'm going to speak about open roles, the recruitment process, and some of our benefits. Okay, no problem, Joanne. We can only get better from here anyway. So you can move on to the next slide, Erica. So before I speak a little bit about the Otonomee journey, I said I'm going to speak a little bit about my own background. My own background is very much linked to the Otonomee story, I suppose. As I said, I'm from Youghal County Corp, Chief People Officer here at Otonomee, and I've been here about just over 3 years. Okay, so we're only about 3.5 years formed. Okay, so we're a relatively new company, and I've been there since quite the start of that journey, which is amazing. Okay, so I suppose if you told me 6 or 7 years ago that I'd be working in a fully remote job, I would have said you're having a laugh, because I didn't think it was for me. I didn't think remote work. Obviously, remote work wasn't as big in Ireland, even though there was some really good companies that were doing remote. For me, it wasn't something that I had done. I was working with a company, as I mentioned, VoxPro. Some people might be familiar with VoxPro, but it was a big offices, big cities, and I really enjoyed it, right? And we had great owners, great employees, great customers, and we scaled a really, really great organization. Okay, and it was, as I said, it was built in big cities, big offices. the traditional BPO model, and I suppose myself and Aidan O'Shea, who's the co-founder of Otonomee, and Aidan used to work with Foxborough as well on that journey. There was challenges with the traditional model, okay, and without getting too much into them, some of the big ones were, as I said, we used to have setting up in big cities. We needed to set up in big cities because that's where all of the people were. We persuaded people to come to Cork, come to Dublin, move away from their own local towns and villages and cities to come and work in cities. Okay, we had offices in Cork, Dublin, Bucharest, the Philippines, and in the US. Okay, and on the surface, it was great, but there was I suppose challenges with it in terms of retention and keeping people and encouraging people to move into those cities. And I suppose retaining employees was a big challenge for us because you were in that big city, competing with loads of brands, but also people were after making that decision to come into the city. The amount of people I spoke to, back over the years where they decided to leave because they loved the company, but actually they didn't want to be working in a big city, or they didn't want to be away from where they lived and their family and friends. So I suppose so that I suppose helped us when we were thinking around, and Aidan and his wife Hillary, who are co-founders of Otonomee, I suppose came up with the idea during COVID, when both of them were sitting at home, saying, you know what, there actually is an opportunity here because of what has happened during COVID to solve some of those problems, okay? Because it isn't just about employees, obviously, which was a major piece. When you lose employees, obviously you lose a skill set, and then customers are very unhappy because you're losing that skill set. So Aidan and Hillary decided during COVID that they were going to, get into that entrepreneur world and take that step. Okay, so I said, I suppose our background of what we've seen over the last 10, years in the traditional BPO model is the reasons why Otonomee was formed. Okay, so look, that's a little bit about myself and a little bit about, I suppose, how I got here. As I said, the world has changed. COVID changed it in a lot of ways. I always say that Otonomee is a COVID-born business, and hopefully, there's not too many good things that have come out of COVID, but hopefully Otonomee is one and will continue to be one. As I said, the world has changed. From an employee perspective, like everyone on here, okay, there's a draw towards remote working now. People know now that what we did, pre-COVID in terms of working in an office doesn't need to be the way, okay? Some people want to continue to do it, and that's absolutely fine, but there's a lot of people who don't, okay? So the world has changed in terms of the expectations from employees, but the world has also changed in terms of what customers want, okay? And I suppose where purpose built, knowing some of those challenges that have happened in the traditional BPO world, and I suppose we believe that we can support that change. Okay, so the next line there, which is an interesting one, is like we're one of the only like purpose-built BPOs in the world, remote BPOs in the world, which is kind of amazing for like what started off as a small Irish company. And our job, I suppose, is to help, I suppose, brands scale their own customer base. Okay, so we believe in a few things that are really important to us. Is like brands need great support. Sorry, great brands need great support. Okay, so it's very important to brands, and not only do we believe it, great brands believe it, which is more importantly that in order for them to be a great brand, they need great support, and their customers need to feel like they're supported. Okay, having a really good employee experience for us is critical to customer experience, okay, and customer service. So if you don't have employees that want to be there and feel part of the company and feel part of Otonomee and feel part of the customer's wider brand, they're not going to give a really good customer experience, right? It's proven, I suppose. So for us, really focusing in on the customer or the employee experience, making sure our team are happy, we know then leads to a really good customer experience. Okay. And I suppose last but not least, in terms of like, we believe that like, we can be a force for good as well. Okay. I suppose, and I'll talk about B Corp in a minute. For us as a company, we're was obsessed is probably maybe the word, is in like making sure that we're a force for good in different communities. We're small and we're new at this moment in time, but you'll see in our values later, like we talk about making a difference in as many communities as possible. Okay, so I suppose the last thing I want to cover off here is I suppose the word autonomy is built from the word autonomy, right? Which is, choice and giving people more choice. And it's around where people work, but it's not just about where they work also, it's how we work, okay? And I suppose what we talk to our team members a lot about is like, that autonomy that we give people, okay, and like I've been given, okay, to be able to work from where I want, okay, what we expect back is that people are accountable and committed to, supporting autonomy and supporting the customers to the highest standards. Okay, so I suppose I'll talk probably more about trust later, but a key piece for us is very simple, as in, we provide our employees with a lot of autonomy to decide where they want to work, okay? And then, like all of us, then I suppose the expectation on us is that we're accountable and we're committed, and we do our jobs to the best of our ability, okay? You can move on to the next slide there, Joanne. Or sorry, Erica, isn't it? Erica. So just as I continue about the values, right? So I'm not going to go through all of our values, which I know probably people are probably reading them anyway, right? So we've 6 values. We've worked exceptionally hard on these over the last 3 years, okay? And they've changed, they've adapted, and they'll continue to adapt, okay? You'll see, from a high level, autonomy, together we grow, building personal connections, which I'll speak about, okay? So a lot of the naysayers around remote working believe that you can't build personal connections when you're working as a remote company. I think if anybody on this call came over and joined one of our Together days, they would say, actually, that's a myth, okay? Because you can absolutely build personal connections remotely, but you have to work on it, okay? Which I'll talk about later. Doing great work, I kind of spoke about, being curious, and we hear all voices. I suppose, as I said, our values will continue to evolve as we grow, but there's some key words in there, I suppose, for people here that that are important to us. Okay, so when people are applying for roles or thinking about autonomy, right, there's words in these values that are very important to us. So like we want people that we can trust, we want people who are brave, we want people who are honest and accountability, and that who take accountability. Okay, they're words that we talk about a lot in autonomy, because again, that's what makes remote working work, okay? That adult to adult relationship, okay, where we trust people, they trust us as an employer, okay, and there's a huge amount of trust around that, okay? You see under Together We Grow, growth mindset, okay, it's really big for us, okay? People who want to learn, okay, because the world is changing, the partners that we support are changing every day. So people who probably want a document that says everything in terms of what you do every day, probably autonomy is not the place for them, okay? Because again, it's a place that's where we're changing by the minute and changing by the day, okay? Under building personal connections, we always talk about being guardians of our own culture. Okay, so my role as the CPO is to help protect the culture that we've built today, which again I'll speak about a little bit more, and you'll pick it up through the slides. What we talk about is everybody, whether you're a day in the job or whether you're 3 years working with autonomy, that we all play a huge role in guarding that culture, okay? Because as we scale, it is the only way that what we've built and the good foundations that we've built today will scale, okay? So we talk a lot about guarding the culture and people taking responsibility and accountability and ownership of our culture. And we talk about being, that we all want to be proud to work for autonomy, and the role that we play in that. Okay, so doing great work is the next one. It's probably obvious in terms of what we expect, but again, it's around doing your best. Okay, doing your best every day. People have good days and people have bad days, okay, but it's doing the best that you can do on every day is important to us. Okay, being curious is a big one for us, and we talk about it a lot as well. Again, we're looking for employees, we're looking for team members who want to ask questions, okay? We talk a lot about like not having everything sorted. We're really, really early in our journey as a company, even though we've made some great strides. And so bringing people in who are curious about learning about the business, bringing their own experience with them, okay, and passing that experience on is critical to us. So we encourage that curiosity from people, okay. And then the last one again, which is linked to our B Corp journey and who we want to be, is we hear all voices, and we want to be a diverse. We are somewhat diverse right now as a small company. We want to be diverse, usually diverse both in locations and backgrounds. And we believe, as I said, that we can make a big difference in many communities, because I suppose the difference between being a remote business and being a remote business and being in cities is in we can impact a huge amount of locations. You know, you'll see in a minute the different nationalities we have and the different communities. I think, and I could be wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway, I think we're spread across 16 different counties in Ireland. It changes, so I think it's 16 different counties in Ireland right now. So and that's a lot of villages and a lot of towns. So we get a chance to impact a lot of those communities over time. Okay, so you can just move on to the next slide there, Erica, please. So I'm going to spend just a minute or two on this slide, right, in terms of demystifying the BPO world, okay, for people who may not know, okay? So companies, great brands, you know, need support in supporting their customers. You know, the BPO world was probably the old traditional years ago, which was like a call center. Okay, so there was a center, okay, where everybody came into a big office, which obviously we're not in a center. Okay, we've got many 115 centers now around Ireland and Portugal, and it was all calls. Okay, a lot of the volume now that comes through because of, I suppose, the way the world has changed in terms of social media and how people contact and using chat, the world has changed. A small proportion, again, depending on the contract and depending on the partner you're working with, a small proportion of it is actually calls now. Okay, so you know that world of that old traditional call center that you would see on probably on you know on US TV or something like that, where it was like a lot of people, a lot of building and picking up phones and dropping it, is a long way far from what the contact center actually looks like. Okay, so as I said, we don't have a center, and calls is a very small proportion of what we do. Okay, so you'll see there along this slide, on this slide, of some of the things that we do. So around customer management, so we do a lot of work out, you know, tech support, customer service, you know, onboarding. So we have companies who we work with who are bringing on new customers, and we help them to onboard those new customers. You'll see there in like the next one around digital CX, which I've spoken about there. It's no longer just calls, you know, it's voice, emails, chat, you know, video integrated, social media. You know, we use an omni-channel solution. So for our team, you know, no matter where the contact is coming in from, whether it's coming in from social media or it's coming in from anywhere, it's all coming into the one platform for our team. Okay, so from a customer perspective, they just want to be supported. Okay, they don't want someone having to go from one system to another, so we provide that omni-channel solution, okay, for them. Okay, we do a lot of work with e-commerce. Okay, so again, supporting customers in the e-commerce space. Consultancy is a piece we're actually in, probably in the latter stages of working with a really great Irish company who are looking for some support from around their contact center. And when we're doing consultancy work, we look at three things. We look to see how we can support them from a people perspective. Okay, so that might be looking at like how they're recruiting, how they're attracting people. We look at the process that they use in terms of within their operation. Okay, and then we look to see what tech they're using. Okay, because it's really, really difficult to provide really good customer support if you don't have the tech to support it. Okay, thankfully we have the tech, and we've invested a lot in our tech to make sure that we have the, you know, the best state-of-the-art technology to support that. Okay, we do sales development, we do technical solutions, and we do a lot of multilingual talent. Okay, so again, Ireland is a great place for multilingual talent. As well as Portugal. Okay, so we do, you know, a lot of our roles are English speaking, but a lot of the roles as well that are coming up are using multilingual and expecting multilingual. So again, I suppose to summarize that, you know, the BPO world is probably very different if you don't know what it is. You know, people probably have this feeling that it's a, you know, it's a call center job. Okay, it hasn't been like that in many years. Okay, it's evolved, it's changed, and it's continuing to change every day. So you can just move to the next slide there, Erica, please. So We are exceptionally proud to be a B Corp. I don't know, does everyone know what a B Corp is, but there is an amazing community in Ireland that are driving B Corp certification in Ireland. We were one of I think we were the 23rd company in Ireland to become B Corp. Okay, there's only about it's just under 8,000 companies globally, and really what it is it's a certification to show that you're doing a lot of good, okay, and that you have a commitment to being a really good provider, or a really good employer, I should say. Okay, so it's I won't get into the big detail of it, but you do an assessment across the number of categories, like how you treat your employees, how you treat what customers you work with, your governance structure, what's your community and your what are you doing from a community perspective. So you basically get judged on all that and you get a score at the end of it. Okay, it's a hard accreditation. It took us about a year to get, but it's amazing that we got there in the end after probably a year of work. And it's one that we play an active role in both in Ireland and Portugal. All right. So again, make sure if you have any questions on B Corp, make sure you reach out, or there's a community in Ireland that's really driving this, and really it's just a commitment from companies that it's more than just revenue. Okay, we want to do good as an employer, and we want to work with companies who have similar values. All right, so you might just go to the next slide there, Erica. So I always say that we are a people business, okay? Even though my IT colleague might disagree with me, saying that we've invested so much in technology, but what we bring to it is terrific people, okay? That's actually what we bring to our customers, okay? And I'll speak about that in our roles later. But really, we bring really good people who we get to connect to us as an organization, okay, and get to commit to us, okay. So we do a huge amount to try and I suppose help people to grow, help people to feel supported, and I suppose more importantly help people to feel like connected to Otonomee and committed to Otonomee. So I suppose the first thing is we spend a lot of time trying to find the right people. Okay, so and again I'll probably speak about this in the next slide, but getting the right people who want to come work for us is essential, right? We don't want people who see it as like a 2-month gig where they come and they go, right? It doesn't help anyone, I suppose. It doesn't help people's CV. It doesn't help us because we train them up and we want people to stay with us a long time. So finding the right people around their commitment, around why they're interested in Otonomee is very important to us. Okay, so that's a big one for us. Okay, we put a lot of time into onboarding. I suppose what we needed to do, there was a few of us from the old Vox Pro, which was the traditional BPO. We nearly needed to forget everything we learned over the years, okay, because we wanted to make sure that we were purpose built for remote, okay, that everything that we did was not just picking and dropping, okay, from oh yeah, well this worked in the office and now let's decide to do it in Otonomee, okay. So we literally went the whole employee journey from like how we send out equipment to how we engage with people on the first day, to like how do we reach out to people 2 days before they join, like so all of those things were literally documented, process mapped, and we spent probably 6 months working through this journey. Okay, is like how do we make sure that we're giving remote work the best chance of succeeding, and then more importantly, how do we give our team members the best chance of succeeding? Okay, so onboarding and training, we relooked at it all. We're quite a informal company, is probably the word, informal but professional. So our onboardings are quite relaxed. We try and make people feel at ease on their first couple of days. Feedback and recognition is very important for us in remote working. Sometimes people can feel a little bit invisible if you don't put a huge focus on recognition. We've got quarterly awards where managers recognize different team members based on our values. They pick topics and say, here's what this person does, and here's the value that I picked that they've really shown over the last quarter. Okay, so we spend a lot of time on feedback and recognition. Transparency is a big one. Okay, so we've built like knowledge bases so people can like what we want is everyone, no matter what time zone, no matter what shift they're on, to be able to like with one click of their mouse to be able to find information. Okay, so that we're transparent. We do like monthly town halls where we talk about the business and what's going on across the different departments, etc., etc. So again, I'm not going to go through all of these points, right? But it's like I suppose we've I suppose purposely gone through each one of these to try and make it as good as we possibly can. Are all of them exactly where we want to be? Absolutely not. They will continue to evolve. I suppose one other one I wanted to speak about was, maybe two others I wanted to speak about was mobility policy. So again, I suppose part of what we want is we want to give people that freedom, that autonomy to be able to move around. So we've got people, that decide to work in Cork, but actually then they can go to Galway and they can work from, with their family and friends, and they can go up there for 2 or 3 weeks and they don't need to take a holiday. So again, the old traditional model, you were stuck to that office. If you wanted to go and you wanted to work in Galway, even if it was for a couple of days, you needed to take holidays. Now our team can go and work around Ireland, work around Portugal at ease. So okay, we also allow our teams to move across different locations for a shorter period of time. So we've had people working out of Paris, we've had people working out of Bucharest, we've had people working out of Berlin, all these cities for short periods of time, which is amazing, because to be able to give people that freedom to be able to go and have life experiences at the same time and be able to work is an amazing thing. So I'm going to speak about the engagement initiatives in a minute, so I'm not going to speak about them now. And just the last one I wanted to speak about was work-life balance. So there's a lot of talk always about work-life balance. We talk a lot about work-life integration, okay, because I don't know what balance is. I'm probably not some good times at balancing, but what I know I have when I work with Otonomee is really, really good work-life integration. My life is able to morph around my work, okay? And for me, that's a very powerful thing. Okay, so you might just move on to the next slide, Erica. So I love this slide because again, like we're a small company, right? So like right now, again, it's all relative. It depends on the size of the company that you work for. But I work for a company that had 6,000 people, and I work for a company who had 80,000 people. So 115 people for me is really, really small. Okay, but what's lovely to see here is even though we are absolutely proud of being an Irish born company, okay, we have got 16 different nationalities already. We're spread across Ireland and Portugal. As I said, we're like across 16 different counties in Ireland. So it's amazing. We've got 7 different languages. So I love this slide. It's one that I ask the guys to constantly keep updating, because you forget, because we just see everybody as people, if you get what I mean, everybody. But when you see where people are coming from and the backgrounds that they're bringing and different industries that they're coming from, and then as I said, this slide for me just really captures, I suppose, what remote work can do. Okay, I wish I had the map of Ireland on it with all of the different towns and villages that we're in, or cities that we're in. But I'll do it the next time when I'm back. All right, so you can just move to the next slide there, Erica. So again, I mentioned that again, people speak a lot around connection in remote working. Okay, and it says what I said there is, I have seen, I suppose, with my own eyes, that the connection that people can build working remotely. Okay, so for anyone that says companies cannot build remote or cannot build connection when they work remotely, are doing it wrong. Okay, so right, you can. I've seen it. I met with some of the Irish team who I met with for the first time in person, and it was like we knew each other for 20 years. Okay, we had a really good personal connection. We went over to Portugal in August or September. We met some of our team members for the first time, and they met some of their team members for the first time in person, and they were hugging and kissing and everything you could imagine. Like, so, like, you just need to think about how you do it. And here's some of the ways that we do it. We've got other ones, but I said I'd put a few of them up there. We have midweek meetups where people just join and they talk about anything but work. Okay, it usually ends up talking about the weather starting, and then it could go to soaps, or it can go to whatever, people getting their hair cut, but it's really just about connecting, okay, and talking and understanding people. Okay, so we do midweek meetups where people join, people pop in for 5 minutes, people pop in and they talk about the weekend that's coming and what they're doing. We do Fridays as well. Again, so we do it in the midweek, which is kind of midweek meetup. Fridays is another one that just allows people to come in and connect and talk. Okay, our together days are massive. Our together days are when we get together in person. So we try and do it 3 times a year, okay, where we get people together. We're still, I suppose, shaping what they look like. So we've at certain stages, we've got everybody together, both in Ireland and Portugal. We've had Ireland specific ones, we've had Portugal specific ones. We actually have one in Portugal next month, where we're going to get everybody from Portugal together. And we do a mixture of things. Mostly it's just informal connecting, but we talk a little bit about the company. But again, we go back and we talk about our values and, you know, being the guardians of that culture and how we can do that and get feedback and all of that. But again, you know, that connection piece is very important to us. And again, to reiterate, you absolutely can do it. You just need to you need to work on it, and you need to make sure that you're thinking about it all the time. We have things like Otonomee Social, where we give a budget for people to meet up. Okay, so people are close. Okay, they contact each other and they go for a coffee, they go for a tea, they might go for a pint, they might go for a run. Okay, and we encourage that. We do coffee chats. I think they're probably well publicized now, but they're amazing. So what we do is we've 3 people that meet up every month online, okay, and again, they just get a chance to connect, okay, and talk about anything but work, okay. And we do team time as well, where we contribute, where every manager has a budget to go organize, you know, maybe it's a takeaway, for example, in an evening time where they just sit around and they all eat together online. Okay, so again, like there's probably another 10 initiatives there, but again, I suppose what's very important for us as well is that this is driven by our teams. Okay, so everything you see here has come from our teams. They've decided that they want to do this. They've decided that actually this works. We actually had a focus group last week where the guys have decided to maybe change some of them a little bit. Okay, but again, it's just all about, like, there's no point. I see companies trying to like force things in, and what we find is actually, let's ask people, what do they want to do? Do they want to have together days? Absolutely. They tell us all the time, well, let's have together days. So again, look, hopefully that just gives you a real kind of, you know, overview of some of the things that we do to make sure that our teams connect and know each other. All right, move to the next slide, Erica. Okay, so I know a lot of people are interested in this piece, obviously, around like open roles. These are some of the open roles that I've put here. I wanted to start in the top left, and I think I probably covered off some of this anyway, but I think some of the questions that I was being asked were around, you know, what do we look for? So no matter the role, okay, because there's different things for each role in terms of experience and background, but what are we looking for in candidates? Okay, we are absolutely, again, if we go back to the values that we have, we're looking people that want to be accountable for the work that they do. Okay, that sounds simple, okay, and it is for when you get really good people, okay, but we want people to be sure that, you know, they are working with one of our customers, they are Otonomee, or they are that our brand right at that moment in time. So their performance on that and their willingness to take accountability for that is an extension of us. Okay, so taking accountability and owning those tickets and owning the relationship you have with the customer is really important. I know everyone says this, but it's really important. Like, as in, a great attitude is like really what we look for. We look for it in our screening calls. We look for people who've got that growth mindset. We look for people who are going to, I suppose, enhance the culture, okay, not just, you know, not just keep it as where it is, okay, but we're looking for people who are going to come in and say, whoa, they've made a real difference at Otonomee, okay, because of their attitude, because of their positiveness. Okay, I've already spoken about growth mindset. As I mentioned a while ago, our customers that we win all the customers that we support, their businesses is changing every day. So it's not just Otonomee is changing, it's also the customers are changing. So we want people, and we find that people who I suppose relish autonomy are the people who have that growth mindset and are open to that change. Okay. And what I mean is that is, things can change during the day, different tickets, customer has decided to launch a new product, for example, that creates stress. But that's what we're there for. We're there to support that change. So that's just, again, like, no matter the position people are in, okay, it's just important that they're the characteristics and the competencies that we are looking for in people, I suppose, broadly. Okay. Some of the roles here, guys, okay, so the customer support specialist on the bottom left. You would have probably seen, if you follow me on LinkedIn and follow Otonomee, that we won a new customer recently called Aura Ring. I'm wearing the ring today to market it. We're going to hire a lot of people for Aura. They're a terrific partner already. Okay, we're going to hire somewhere close to 80, even in the customer service or customer support space over the next 6 months in Ireland. Okay. And it's an amazing opportunity with an amazing partner. Okay, so you'll see some of the things down the bottom left. What we look for is customer support experience. It doesn't have to be in the BPO space. Okay, but again, it's people who so some of the questions I would have for people, if they're in retail for the last 20 years and now they've decided to come and apply for this, why? Like, what can they go from meeting people face to face every day to supporting people online in chat and email? Like why the change? So they're the kind of things that we'd ask for. So customer service, customer support experience doesn't have to be the BPO, but just be ready to answer the questions as to why. Like, why now a BPO? How will you adapt from working and meeting people face to face to now working online, okay, and working remotely? C1, C2 written English. Okay, so again, like, it's important that we have a really strong level of English. I'll talk about Aura specifically. They've come to us because they want a premium service. Part of that is having really good, English and grammar and support. Okay, the shift for Aura is between 12 midday and midnight, Monday to Friday. We also have a later shift for people who may be interested in, which is like 6:30 to 3 a.m. And I suppose it's 30K plus is the salary that we'll be paying for that role. And we also look for people who are tech savvy. It doesn't mean that you need to be a whiz from a tech support perspective, but it's people who are interested in tech. Okay, do they have a phone, iPhone? Why do they sorry, I lost my train of thought. So are they tech savvy? Are they interested in phones? Do they like to troubleshoot things? Okay, so it's just having that, I suppose, interest, I suppose, in tech. Okay, you see operation manager roles. We're looking to add an operations manager role to one of our teams. Okay, there's 25 team members in it. Okay, there's about 20 different customers, maybe a few more in it, and they'd be supporting about 20 different customers. Okay, so we're looking for someone there with a bit of management experience and a strategic thinker. We're looking for quality analyst roles. Okay, this role actually would have went up a few weeks ago, and we took it back down, and I'm going to explain that because I know a lot of people have reached out to me to say, how do I find a job? So I suppose why the roles went up and went back down is because we had a huge amount of interest. And what I really don't want is us putting up a job and people do not getting an answer, whether they're being successful or unsuccessful, for a long time. Okay, I don't like people having to wait. Okay, and we got a huge amount of interest, so we've now just about gotten through all of the volume. Okay, and some people, we've actually 10 people starting with us, or sorry, 12 people starting with us on the 8th of April. And we have more classes coming, so we'll be putting those roles back up again. Okay, so quality analyst role. Okay, what I said is there 1 year's experience in the QA. I think the salary is there. I think we just can't see it. It's probably out of the thing. I think I said it's 33 plus. Okay, Six Sigma advantage. For anyone who doesn't know what a quality analyst role in the BPO world, again, you'd be supporting, coaching some of our our customer support specialist team, okay, in terms of, you know, giving them feedback on a ticket maybe that they did really well, on a ticket maybe that they didn't do really well. So you're basically a quality reviewer to be able to support and coach our teams, okay? We have an onboarding specialist role that's going to be coming up hopefully in the next week, okay? Again, that's onboarding for one of our customers and new clients, okay, onto their platform, going through how to get up on it, and work through a process with them, okay? And then we're also looking for a training lead, okay? So again, that's a trainer. As we bring in new team members, okay, we need to train them on, I suppose, client-specific training, okay? So again, it's taking team members who've just started, you know, maybe doing 2 weeks training with them, okay, and then moving on to another class, okay? So again, what we're looking for there is all the things that are written on the left-hand side: great communicator, BPO experience, and you'll see again the salary, okay? So we at this moment in time hire full-time permanent staff, okay? The reason we do that is because that's what people want, okay? So we are very open as a company and want to be a company that provide part-time work for people who want it, okay? Again, it depends on the role, but very much we want to be a company who'll be able to provide that flexibility. We've spoken at length over the last 6 months about, you know, how do we, I suppose, capture a community of people, okay, that don't want to work full time, okay, but maybe want to, if we were to say, actually, guys, we need someone to support us here in 2 weeks' time, okay, and we need them to work on a Saturday. Would you guys be interested? And basically create our own, I suppose, ecosystem of people who want flexible work. So I suppose to summarize, all the roles here that I've spoke about are right now are permanent full-time roles, because that's what we feel is the best opportunity of getting people, okay? But as a company, we speak all the time about, you know, how do we create that ecosystem of people or community of people that maybe don't want that, okay, and maybe want more flexible work, or maybe want set times on weekends or on mornings time. So again, it's, as a company, we're usually committed to trying to make that work, okay? So I know there's loads of questions. I only have a slide or two left, so what I'll do is keep going, and then I'll answer as many questions as I can. All right, so you move to the next slide, Erica. So just a little bit about our benefits, and I started with the first one, right? Because it might seem a little bit, loose, I suppose, but an organization where you can make a difference. So I joined Voxpro when Voxpro was 50 people, okay, and when it was sold, it was 6,000 people, okay, and I ended up starting as a HR intern, and I ended up being HR director, okay, for a number of years in Voxpro, okay, and we don't want to create a 2.0 or 2.0 in Voxpro of Otonomee, but in the BPO world, when you're growing substantially, you can make a difference. You know, you can make a difference. Again, I spoke about communities, how we make a difference, but you can also make a difference to a lot of people, okay? And you can make a lot of difference in your career. There's huge opportunities in there. So I wanted to start with it because I do believe that it's a big benefit of coming and working with a company like Otonomee is, you know, you can be a voice, you know, you can make a difference. You know, you're not just another number, you are an important part of the Otonomee team as soon as you join. Okay, I've spoken about work from where you find meaning again, so that's important to us. We want people to work where they do their best work, okay? You know, we don't want people to be forced to come and work in a certain location where they can't do their best work, okay? So really, that's a real benefit, I think, to a lot of people on this call, okay? We do sick pay, we have EAP, we do debt and service, okay? We do a stipend for working from home, okay? So we provide people €200 when they're starting, okay? And then we do that on a yearly basis for people who want to add stuff into their home office. If they want to add a table or add chairs, okay? We provide equipment for people, okay, as well as we make a contribution to their home offices. As I said, we do a work from home allowance, okay. We do quarterly days. It's things that we don't have yet, and it's just because where we are as a business, but we will be launching pension and health insurance later this year. it's just we as a company, as I said, we're small, and we need to make sure that we're profitable, and we have a, you know, we have an organization that we know is growing at the rate we want it before we add huge costs to the business. Okay, but we've committed to our team that we'll be introducing those later in this year, which is amazing. Okay, which is always what we wanted to do. Okay. We want to do it in a flexible benefit kind of way, right? That we give people a certain amount of money and they can decide. So again, go back to the philosophy of autonomy, you know, giving people choice. You know, for some people it's pension, some people it's health insurance, for other people it could be something else. So we want to be able to provide a flexible benefit there for people to be able to decide how they want to spend their benefits. Okay, so a lot of work going on behind the scenes to make that happen. I think I've only one more slide, I think. I know we're nearly on time. So, guys, our interview process, first round interviews is always with the recruitment team. So again, if people go for our jobs, it's a very important part. It isn't a tick the box exercise when you go and meet a recruitment person. It's they're making that decision whether you're going to go to the second round. Okay. So it's my team. I make sure that they know that like we're looking for all those things around accountability and growth mindset. That's what we're looking for. Okay. So it's usually 30 minutes, it's online. If you're successful in there, you go for a second round interview with another person on my team in HR, as well as most likely the hiring manager. We'd always do language tests with people just to make sure its grammar is correct and up to that C1 or C2 level. And then sometimes we do a third round, again, depending on the role and depending on different things, but it will be a shorter 30-minute one. So I hear of companies doing like 10 rounds of interviews. We don't do that at Otonomee. Again, I think our interviews are informal, but really professional. There's a balance there. Okay, we want people to bring themselves to the interview and not pretend that they're someone they're not, because that's not what we want. We want to understand who you are. Okay. Sorry, I got through an awful lot. I'm not going to read this. Okay, this is just some of the comments that our team members have said that I thought I'd put on the slide for you guys to read. I'm ready for questions.
Thanks, Brendan. That was absolutely brilliant. As I said, we don't have too much time for questions, but rest assured, we've been collating them from the registration form into everything you've put in today. So Brendan, if it's okay with you, I might keep you a little bit after just to make sure I have everything and I can answer them properly in the follow-up email. But since we do have a few minutes left, I want to ask one that I think has come in loads of times. Like, if you think you're the perfect fit for Otonomee and there isn't something that's exactly your expertise or exactly what you're looking for, what's the best way to, is there a possibility to register your interest for future roles, or what do you recommend?
Yeah, so we actually had on our jobs page on Otonomee.com, we had like register your interest, right? So we're going to put that back up again. So it was basically that like that you know job that you put in your CV. Again, the problem, or it was my decision to take it down, because again I don't want people sitting in that bucket for a long time without us at least going back to them and say thank you for your CV, you know, and to be able to have a chat with them. So we're going to put that back up after this call, Erica, so people can put that in.
That's perfect, Brendan. Thank you. And we'll, once that's up, we can send the specific link if it's helpful. But like Brendan said, just keep an eye on the page. And then otherwise, most of the questions were in terms of salary or hours or day shifts, which I feel like we've gotten to the majority, if not all, on this call. Like I said, it'll come in the follow-up. But just, I suppose the last question that we got more than anything was, what are you looking for in terms of the people you hire at Otonomee? So you said multiple times that the experience you're looking for can come from various fields. Is there any sort of specific look of the person that's a high performer at Otonomee?
I think I've covered it all, Eric. I don't want to repeat it too much, as in
Yeah.
Again, okay, it depends on the role a little bit, but like those ones that I had on the left-hand side in that slide, like around you know, being accountable, showing, I suppose, that you're, you know, trustworthy and getting that across in terms of examples, like as in what we do is not rocket science, I suppose, right? So what we all do in Otonomee is not rocket science, okay? And I think in a lot of companies, they probably think that they do rocket science and they don't, okay? So we are looking for people who are passionate about making sure that Otonomee is successful, okay? That's what we look for. We look for people who've researched Otonomee. Why do you want to come and work for us? You know, has this person just sent out their CV to 20 different companies on that day, right? And now they've got an interview to Otonomee and they're hesitating over why they want to work for Otonomee. We just want people who want to come work for us and are committed to come work for us, because there's a lot of people out there. So why would we or anybody want somebody to come and work with them where actually we feel that they're not sure about Otonomee? Okay, so I think like the accountability, the growth mindset, they're all the things that we look for, Erica. But if I could summarize it, we want people who are passionate about coming working for us, okay? Because I think, that's, we can train a lot of the skills that we need, okay? So again, like I think I've kind of half read John's one there, is in like, where we've got a X amount of customers now. We're onboarding customers, every month. Okay, so some of the stuff that I've put there around the role, some of those will change in terms of like, it might be business hours rather than 12 to 12, but those competencies that we're looking for will never change. Okay, they're the attitude piece that we look for.
I think that's a perfect answer, Brendan. So thank you for that. Funnily enough, we got I want to say anywhere from 5 to 7 questions on AI integration, which, as you know, I'm sure everyone is probably asking you this all the time. And is it utilized at Otonomee? And if so, like, how do you think it affects the customer base and customer service experiences?
Yeah. I knew someone was going to ask about AI anyway, because everyone talks about AI, right? So AI is that word now that is just like, I'm going to say personally, like it's just spiraled, right? Everything is AI, right? So I suppose firstly, like AI has been in the contact center world for many years. Okay, people just didn't know it. I think when ChatGPT came out, everybody was like, "Whoa, this is going to change the world," right? So, but like AI has been like 6, 7 years ago, we were using translation services, we were using routing of calls, right? So AI has been in the contact center for years, okay? It's just evolving all the time. We see it as a really, really positive thing. Like we have like jumped into AI, okay? Because like people see it as it's one or the other. It's either people or it's AI. It's not, right? AI is actually there to support our teams, okay? So we've invested a huge amount in technology, right, that supports that AI. And what it's actually led to, okay, and I think Otonomee is in a really great place to support this, and so are people in Ireland, right? Is now what customers are looking for is they're looking for us to support a higher value of connection with the customer. Okay, so maybe some of those things like, that really simple question, some customers are replacing with I, and I get it. Like there's that one, I want to change my password, right? Why would you need to talk to somebody for that, right? You don't. None of us would want it. But there's other pieces we've seen as a prime example of that. They want to be a premium provider, okay? Sorry, they are, and they want us to continue being a premium provider of customer support. They want their customers getting off that phone and saying, "Oh my God, that was just an amazing experience." You can't do that with AI right now, okay? And you may never. So we see it as a real positive. It's really helping us as a business, okay, in terms of where we're going. We don't see it as one or the other. We're getting a lot of those high-end escalation, higher value roles because of AI. Okay, so again, probably could talk about it for another 20 minutes. I know I don't have time, but we're excited about it, okay, and we're really jumping into it, okay.
That's brilliant, Brendan. Firstly, I think we'll keep it there so that we can stick to time and make sure you all get back to what you have to do in a timely fashion. But thank you so, so much, Brendan. We don't play favorites with our employer partners, but as our co-founder Tracy said in the chat during this session, Otonomee are just absolute superstars in leading a mission-based organization. And I think, Brendan, you've really shown all of that here today. So thank you. I will end this now, but as Joanne has said multiple times, and I have said, we will be sending a proper follow-up with the playback for you to watch this on demand, any specifics that we've covered in this session, and Brendan kindly is going to answer any additional questions that we don't have the answer to. We're here to help. So if anyone has anything we can do to support, you know where to find us. And thank you so, so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks, guys.